Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Kensington Cross Stitch. I am Deborah and as always it is such a pleasure to be with you to talk about cross stitch and other hobbies that we share. So thank you to those of you who are returning viewers. I really appreciate you coming back from video to video. If you're new or if you're just a casual viewer, thank you. I appreciate it and I hope that you enjoy, get some good stitching in while we're talking today. I should say you'll notice that there is some glare on the glasses. The sun is shining in, but we are trying to combat that as best we can. Let's see. So today is Wednesday, September 4, for those of you who are keeping track, 2024, just in case you're watching this in the distant future. But it has been a couple of weeks since we had a conversation, and in the last couple of weeks, I have been on vacation. I always try and get a little bit of time in toward the end of summer, just to, kind of a relaxing vacation, not a huge amount to do, just checking out from work and life and all of those kinds of things. So I did get a chance to take about a week off, and I was in upstate New York, and then I was also in Niagara-on-the-Lake, Ontario, Canada, which is always a fun thing to do. So I got to do a bunch of different things. The thing that Niagara-on-the-Lake is really known for is it's the home to the Shaw Festival, which is one of the repertory theater festivals that are across the world. You may have heard the Stratford Festival. There's a few in the Western United States about Shakespeare, some things like that. So this one is really dedicated to the works of George Bernard Shaw and then related things. So it's been something I've been able to do for the last several of years. And this year I got to see more plays than I have ever seen in a season of the Shaw Festival. It was just sort of coincidental. All of the things that we heard were really good were available and whatnot. So, and I do have to say a special thank you to Linda and her daughter Kelly for their generosity. It was so kind and appreciated, and we had an absolutely fantastic time. So thank you to Linda and particularly to Kelly on that one. But we saw several different plays, including Sherlock Holmes, the mandatory Shaw, which was Canada in this case. And one of the things that I really like about repertory theater is the casts are in multiple productions at the same time. And in this case, I think they have at least 2 productions, and they maybe are involved in others. And so in addition to getting to watch these casts in the particular production that you're seeing, you could go the next day and see them in a completely different production in different roles, and all of that. So it's really fun to see the way that you can experience actors stretching their abilities in different ways, and you see sometimes the commonalities, why they're cast in particular roles, or their tendency to go for certain kinds of demeanor and behavior and things like that. So it was just really fun to get to go do that. I got to do kind of a little bit of just wandering and shopping and visiting Balzac's Coffee in the old bookstore, and some things like that. But there was some quality just sitting on the porch. The weather was beautiful and relaxing time, spending time with family. So I was really, really appreciative of a chance to do that. And pertinent probably more to your interests is I've been to 3 cross-stitch stores since we last spoke 3 weeks ago. It's pretty good. And I have a fair amount of hauls, so that will definitely be a portion of the video later. And I was like, I'm on vacation, it's fine. I'm supporting small businesses. However we justify these things. Anyway, so I will show that toward the end, and I will talk about a couple of the shops as well. But really, like I said, today we've got stitching. I will jump into the stitching. I've got some haul, and I've got some book talk, and then sort of ish Lego building briefly in the haul portion. So with that, I think we will jump into the stitchy content for today. So the first thing, I literally have a giant pile that I may not be able to get out from under my desk. The first couple of things I have to show you are some finishes. So this is a momentous day. This is the last piece of the last pattern in the series that we have been working on together all year, which is the seasonal ABCs piece by Little House Needleworks. I had 2 needle minders like stuck together there. And so this is Autumn ABCs. Let's see if I can straighten this out for you all. And so it's these long, thin rows. And as I said, we've been kind of working on this together all year. Very leisurely paced, Sal. And it is such a pleasure to see the last one come together. I had hoped before filming today that I might get it fully finished for you, but that didn't happen. But I figure this way, technically I still have a couple of weeks left of summer in order to get this finished before my fall display goes up. So Labor Day always feels like the formal end of summer, but I know that there is a little bit of time. So that is Autumn ABCs. And what was so special about this was, first of all, the people who participated in this with me. It was so wonderful to get to work on this and see your pictures and to see Eileen in person and do all of those things together. And then Judith, who is JLK Stitches on Instagram, had also reached out, I mentioned in my last video, and she had suggested that we actually have a Zoom call together and actually finish the pieces, put our last stitches in together as we did it. So we did work on that a couple of weeks ago, and we sat there like, okay, I've got 2 stitches left, and then we finished it up. So it was such a pleasure to actually talk with Judith, have a good chance to just chat and get to know each other a little bit better, and then actually kind of see the end of this project that we have been working on. So thank you, Judith, again for reaching out, for the wonderful conversation, and to everybody who participated in the SAL. It was so much fun. So I appreciate that. So that is our first finish for the day. All right, hopefully now I'll have a little bit more room to do this. The second finish I have is also technically a SAL. This is a piece that you have not seen in quite some time. I have felt so bad about this because I'm the kind of person that I feel like a SAL really is a stitch along. My intention is to actually stitch along with others throughout the process. We may not be fully on pace with each other, but I like to do it with other people. Rather than kind of saying, oh, it's a start along, get to it whenever you can. But there have been a couple of SALs in which I was the person who fell behind, who didn't keep up with things. And I had been wanting to get caught up on some of those things. So this was a SAL that I was doing, just a private SAL with a member of my family. And we had done one, 18 months ago or something like this. And I purchased the pattern, all the supplies, sent it to her, and we worked on it. And then she did the same in reverse. And it was just one of those projects. I don't know. It wasn't the piece that I picked up. And I also, it was kind of around the time of year where I had really started too many things, and I just had to put some of them aside and say, it's just not going to be happening right now. So this was one of those pieces. But I kind of was thinking, I need to finish this. And it's quite a large piece. I'll show you the pattern. And this is the pattern All Sorts by Stitchrovia. And there is a very similar pattern by another designer. I'm forgetting off the top of my head who it is, but they came out around the same time. But it's just such fantastic colors. It's all in DMC. And I mean, you can't not get excited about these gorgeous colors, these literally candy colored palette that you get to stitch with. It is just absolutely beautiful. And so I had started this, and I started it in the center because I was sent a piece of fabric. I didn't know anything about it. I did figure out it was 36 count, but I didn't know anything else about it. And I wasn't quite sure until I started stitching that it was really 36 count. So I started in the center just in case. And then I was just like, you know what? I'm just not sure I'm going to get this done. So I did what I often do, which is I adapted the pattern, and I just said, if I want to actually finish this piece, let's think about what we can do to really finish it, because I said it's going to take a long time to fully finish, like to do every bit of this stitching. And so looking at it, since I started in the center, there is roughly, as I try and do this backwards in the screen, there is roughly a circle of candies around that lettering. And so I said, okay, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to stitch the circle and we'll go from there. So I wound up stitching that. Will it focus? There we go. And as you can see, it's roughly a circle. I did do a couple of changes. So for example, this was another blue piece that was exactly the same as this one, and I just decided I didn't kind of want that mirroring. I added another piece here just to kind of round out that shape, but it's not perfectly a circle, but I decided it was close enough, and I will plan to probably finish it as some kind of circle finish. But I thought that that was a reasonable way to finish up the piece, give honor to the SAL, while recognizing that I just have a lot of other stitching, and this was probably just not going to be that priority one. And I think part of that, I think, is because I don't actually have any idea what I will do with this piece, particularly the full piece. It's quite a large piece. It's not one that I would hang up and keep up permanently. It's bigger than most of the pieces I tend to display seasonally, but I thought the smaller version is something that I could absolutely put in a summer display. So that was the compromise I came up with. I think it's really wonderful. The colors are just so vibrant. I grew up as somebody who didn't enjoy licorice, and it's something that as an adult I was like, oh, actually this is really great. So it was fun to get to work on that. So that is All Sorts by Stitchrovia, and those were the two pieces that I finished over the last couple of weeks. I have also a couple of whips to show you. I have a new start, and then I also have a little bit, I actually have a plan. I have a plan for a project. So that's the next thing that we'll take care of. The next piece that I worked on, which is one of my whips, is this Curtis Boehringer piece called Season to Season, the Apple Branch. And this is a piece that I am just casually working on as each season advances. So at this point, I have now done spring and summer. And as I show you every video, what I like about it is no matter which direction you display it, you have the lettering upright for that particular season, which is how I intend to display and rotate it as the year progresses. So as I said, at this point, I wanted to get this done before summer was over, and I have finished the summer section. So we actually did get an apple in that one. And I am stitching this on 25 count even weave. It's one of the Lori Holt even weaves, and I am stitching it over 2, so it is quite large. And I am using DMC. The pattern calls for DMC flower thread, but I am using the provided DMC cotton alternatives. So I did finish that a couple of weeks ago, so I was like, perfect, I'm still in summer. But now, of course, it's heading on toward autumn, so I will need to pull this out again pretty soon to get working on that one again. The next piece that I am working on is my purse project. So this is a piece that I keep in my purse just in case I have a little bit of time and I want to keep my hands busy while I'm away from the rest of my projects. So I started this a couple of videos ago. I haven't made a huge amount of progress, but I do work on it occasionally. So this is Fall Mailbox, I don't know why I said that, Fall Mailbox by Mill Hill. And this is from the Autumn Harvest series. And again, heading into fall. So this might be one that gets jumped up into the more serious to-do list. When I showed it to you last, I had done very minor work kind of on the stem and a little bit of the mailbox. And I have now completed the dark color, the dark blue of the mailbox. It's very exciting. I know. I'm also realizing, oh, there's my needle. It's like, I can't find my needle. This is a piece. One of the things that I did while I was in Niagara-on-the-Lake was on Monday, which is the dark day for the theater community, there is an annual, I learned this while I was there, the Shaw Festival and the Stratford Festival have an annual cricket match against each other, and it's always on the Monday so that they are not working so they can do this. So we attended not the full game because the full game lasted, I think, about 7 hours, but we attended several hours of this and watched the match. And I was sitting there and my cousin was like, oh, if only you had a cross stitch piece that you could be working on since we're just sitting here watching this game. And I said, oh, actually, I do, which they found both impressive and kind of ridiculous. But I was like, that's the cross stitch life, y'all. So I did work on it for a little while during the cricket match, in part because in some ways a cricket match is a great place to work on it because you have a lot of time and there is often not that much happening depending on, sort of the skill of the players. But what I discovered is something can happen at any moment. So it happened enough that I was like, oh, okay, I was looking down at my cross stitch in the moment that somebody got a run or something like this. So I worked on it for a little while and then I put it away and I focused on the cricket match. But that was our progress on Fall Mailbox. Continuing on the perforated paper front, I also have my August assignment for the Veronique Enginger Advent Calendar, which is out of this book. And if you are new, one of the things that I did in July, I caught up. I had Christmas in July, and I caught up on all of my self-imposed assignments for this project because I'm wanting to do 2 pieces a month so that by December I can have all 24 and, hopefully, ideally, actually get them fully finished. We'll see if that happens. But I had gotten significantly far behind on this, got caught up in July, and so now I have also done my August assignment. So I have got 2 pieces to show you. One of them is this little deer, number 15. And then I also have a little mouse, number 16, with his little present. So I thought those were very cute. These are really quick pieces to stitch, and I am happy to have those caught up. So I will continue to work on that with 2 more pieces in September. Okay, that was my whips. The next thing I have to show you is a new start. I have talked in the past that I said once I was done with the ABC series, I was thinking about what was going to be my next seasonal or my next kind of my monthly piece, because I do really well breaking down larger projects into measurable mini goals that I reach. And so the piece that I had decided to start working on is the Sing a Sampler series by Silver Creek Samplers. And it is a 4-part series that includes 8 designs from the song from Sound of Music. And so I said, I don't actually need to start this until September because technically I have through the end of August to finish my ABC's piece, but I said I might start it. I did. I am using the I'm using the Roxy Floss Co. conversion. So this is something I ordered from Evertote, and they came. And I say this every time, but I'm going to have to keep saying it every time. I specifically went with this one because this color yellow, which is one of the colors you use a lot of, is called Colonel Mustard. I love it, so that's why I bought it. But I am enjoying using these threads, and I've used Roxy Floss Co. kind of intermixed with other floss. That's the word I was looking for. Intermixed with other floss, but I think this might be the first time I'm using all solid, all colors by them in a project. So I'm enjoying that. So I happen to be sitting on the porch having finished my other project, so I pulled this one out to get started. And not in the hoop, not ironed. Here we go. Here's our start. You will notice that it is massive because I am stitching this on a 24 count linen. I'm stitching it over 2. And the reason that I chose to do this is my original plan was to make this into the cover for a draft excluder. I have one of those down in one of my, in the guest room actually at this point. And I'm doing several pieces that are very long, skinny pieces that I'll use as covers for that. And I had decided that, and I bought this particular linen. I bought a whole yard of it, cut it up, and had been working on those very slowly. And I knew that for this piece, because of the dimensions, I was like, I'm going to have to use at least a half a yard, which is a cut that I typically don't keep around. And so I knew that I had this linen that would work. And so I decided, I was like, I'll just do a big version. But I knew that it would be kind of stretching it to fit this on that round piece so that you could actually see most of the image. But I decided, I was like, I'm going to try it, I'm going to start it. And I started it and I was like, this is really too big. So it's just, it would fit, but you would not be able to see all of the pattern on display kind of because of the way that the draft excluder is designed. So I think what I'm going to do is, I think that this may actually become a restart. I am not going to use this as the cover for that, but I'm instead just going to make kind of a big pillow that will go in front of a different door. I have a door at work that has a really large gap at the bottom, and I was always like, oh, I should just do something to cover that for privacy's sake. So I decided I'm just going to make kind of a massive pillow out of this instead. So what I need to do is, when I'm next in the office as opposed to teleworking, I will actually measure that door, figure out what dimensions it is, and then I'll just pick whatever size linen is best suited to that, and then I think I'll restart this. I mean, it might turn out to be this one, but I suspect that I might be doing this on a smaller count. So we'll see. On hold, but I also feel like I started it. I learned something. We'll see what happens. And it's only just actually the start of September, so I could totally still get this caught up in my September time frame. All right. That is all of the stitching that I have actually accomplished to date. I do have one piece that I want to show you that is an intended new start. This is one of the patterns that I picked up when I was on my little shop tour, but I thought, I just kept looking at it. It was the one that just kept drawing my attention. So I was like, all right, I need to get this up and I need to get this started. So I wound up sort of vegging all weekend as opposed to actually being productive in any way. So I didn't get it started, but I am going to start it whenever I next stitch is when I'm going to start it. Okay. Here is our pattern. It is called Sunflower Sampler, and it's by Heart and Hand. It's an older piece, I think from 2005, I think. And it comes partially kitted, so it does come with the fabric, which is a 32 count summer khaki linen, and then it also comes with one button. You might be able to see there's a little crow button there. And I just thought that this was really the perfect sort of transition piece from summer to autumn stitching. Just a couple of different colors. As usual, I just pulled, if I happen to have the called for color, I pulled that, and if not, I pulled something that was very similar. The only sort of change that I made was with this green. I pulled a color, I actually did have the called for, and it was a very, very different color than what you see in the picture, and I liked what was in the picture, so I just pulled something that looked to me like the image itself. So again, like I said, I think it's a great palette to kind of see the summer out. So that will be the piece that I get started next. Before I forget, this is the weekend where we have the Connecticut Stitching Circle. So if you're in the Connecticut or surrounding areas and you're looking for a stitching group, we meet on typically the first Saturday of the month. Excuse me, the first Saturday of the month at the Wallingford Panera. We start at about 10 o'clock in the morning, and then we go till 2-ish. People kind of come and go as their schedule permits, and then we go from there. I'm going to have to take a drink. Sorry about this. Okay, there we go. Too much just like chatting without ceasing. So, like I said, this Saturday, Wallingford Panera, and we would love to see you. Or if you're one of the regulars, I am excited to see you. Okay, that is my stitching and my plans for the last couple of weeks. The next thing I have to show you is the not insignificant pile of haul that I have for you. If that's not your thing, but you do want to hear the book talk, just fast forward. You'll be able to tell when we switch topics. Okay, so the first thing I have to show you is from my visit. This is all intermixed. It really is just sort of like size apportioned. Okay, the first thing I bought is this mini box. Let me see. Let me show you the English side. I have shown these in the past, and I have kind of said that they're like knockoff Legos, but they really are mini. I've put together a couple of them, and I have said like they're kind of a pain. Like the pattern, the instructions are not particularly clear. The construction is difficult. Like they're a little bit not tedious. They're tenuous in sort of how they are constructed. But I had said, you know, they are unique in the sense that nobody else has some of these patterns. Like you're never going to find a Lego set like this. And they're often related to like historical parks and sites and things like that. But this one, I was like, but I suspect I'm still going to buy them occasionally. And I bought this one because it's a cow's cow. If you know anything about Eastern Canada, there is an ice cream company called Cows, and their mascot is a cow, and everything that you can buy in there is cow themed. They have cow t-shirts and all kinds of things. Like if you think of it and there you can put a cow on it, it's there in their shop, in addition to the ice cream. And honestly, like, do I need a cow piece? Am I going to put it somewhere? I have no idea where I'm going to put this on display, but the fact that it had the little cow sign was just like, well, guess I'm going to need to buy that one. So I got my cow's cow. Also at the cow's shop, I bought a little pin, a cow's pin, and this is for Niagara-on-the-Lake. And what this is showing is the cow going in a barrel over the falls, because Niagara-on-the-Lake is like 20 minutes from the falls. So I bought that. It will, of course, become a needle minder. I also bought a Niagara-on-the-Lake very pretty little pin, which will become a needle minder. So I thought that one was cute. And then one of the shops that's in downtown Niagara-on-the-Lake is kind of they have French linens and things like this. And so I bought this tea towel full of Parisian cats. And I bought it so I can turn it into a project bag, so I'll be able to cut that up and use that. But I thought that was just a cute little bag. I think that cat in the center with the beret is my favorite. So that will eventually become a project bag. And it's a nice kind of solid fabric. All right. The next couple of things I picked up when I was at Hobby House. Oh, I should probably tell you, I was like, oh, I've been to 3 shops. You might want to know which ones. So I went to Stitch New England a couple of weeks ago for Pam's kind of Saturday stitching day. That was with a couple of friends. It was really fun. And it is always a pleasure to get to visit the Stitch New England shop, to see Pam, see some other people. So went to Stitch New England. And then on my vacation, I was also in the vicinity of both Hobby House in Pittsford, New York, and then also the Stitching Corner, which is a new shop in Ransomville, New York. It's kind of outside of Lockport. And I had not been to Hobby House's new location, and I had not been to the Stitching Corner at all. So obviously I had to stop. And I really enjoyed both visits. Hobby House is, I know it's the legend. It's one of the legendary shops. People talk about it all the time, but I really enjoyed getting to visit the new location. They have just so much space. And in addition to all of their cross-stitch supplies at this point, they also have some fabric. They have other items that you can purchase as well. And so I was checking out, and David's like, oh, he's like, you're the kind of customer that actually buys something from every part of the shop. So it was fun to do that. I was realizing, I think there were a couple of things that didn't make it into this pile, but you know what? We got enough to talk about anyway. So one of the things that I really liked about Hobby House is they have actually started buying directly from Sajou, which is kind of a stitchy accoutrement shop in France. And rather than buying through a wholesaler through a third party, they are working directly with Sajou. So they have quite a large collection of items. So I spent a lot of time kind of walking around the Sajou table. It was cute. So one of the things I got was just this tiny little box. It's a little wooden box with a label for buttons for your corsages. And the reason I bought this is it can be a tiny little Ort container. I thought that was cute. So, I mean, it doesn't hold a huge amount of Orts, but you're on the go. You don't need a huge Ort container. So pick that one up. Immediately put it to good use, as you can see. I also picked up this tiny little tin, and this is for pins. It's actually got there are quite substantial pins in there, kind of straight pins. But again, another one that I thought would be a cute little needle minder. And if it will focus, it's a woman knitting and a cat who's just like pretending to not be paying attention. Yeah, so I thought that was cute. And then I also bought a needle book. So we've got something to some elastic to hold a couple of things, needles, a little pocket. I think there's a little pocket. Anyway, it goes either direction, as you can see. So you've got a couple of little things in there. So, and I just thought, well, very traditional fabric. And this is kind of like duck cotton. So anyway, those were the couple of little Sajou things that I picked up. Okay, now we've got a bunch of patterns to show you. I will not spend a huge amount of time on a lot of these. Between a couple of these shops, I was able to buy all of the more recent Bent Creek Flare pieces. This is a series that they did a number of years ago, and I purchased them. Have I stitched them yet? No, but I'll get there. But they released a few new ones, and so I think that at this point I now have the full set again, because I was like, I really want all of them so that when I do decide what I'm going to do with them, I have them all. So those are the Bent Creek Flare series. At Hobby House, I picked this one up from a Ukrainian designer called Wonderland Crafts, and this is kind of perforated wood, and then it also has some beads, so I thought that would be a really pretty piece for the Christmas tree. I picked up Heart and Hand. This one I got at Stitch New England, and this is the Wee Santa 2024. I'm not a huge Santa stitcher, as you all who are returning know, but check out, look at that, like the snowmen on this piece are just adorable. So I may figure out if I can just stitch the snowmen in some way. I can definitely do just the little guy with his scarf, but I'm sure I can manage to get the guy in the little stocking too. So that was the Bent Creek Wee Santa for this year. I bought a bunch of Bent Creek on this trip. So I picked up 2 of the Summer Snapperland series. I'm not going to stitch the whole thing, but I bought these 2. And what I am pretty sure that I will be able to do is actually stitch them as one piece. This water matches this kind of, anyway, I'm pretty sure those line up. So I'm going to stitch them just as one single piece. I'm not going to stitch the little sailor with the peg leg in the center, but everything else I will stitch. And I thought that would just be a really cute, very small summer scene. So that one will be a good one to work on. I got Merry Little Christmas by Shakespeare's Peddler. This is another series that I've been eyeing for a long time, but I finally bought at least one of them. So this was from Summer House Stitchworks, and then also Hands On Design did a team up a number of years ago with this French kitchen theme, and I really love this one. I think this one is my favorite. I don't think I'll stitch the entire piece, but I think that kind of center motif would be really lovely. So pick that one up. I picked up Filigree piece, which is Rabbits in the Garden. And you can see that really center motif of the little rabbits is just the cutest thing. Sorry, between the glare and the sunset. We'll see how this goes, but that one I think is fun. Again, not one I'm going to stitch the entire piece of, but there were just so many cute little elements. You can make smalls out of them. So I think definitely worth picking that one up. From Tra La La, I picked up In Summer, and I love that little girl, or that lady with her pigtail and the bees and everything. So that one will be a pretty one. From Little House Needleworks, I bought the Stitching Bee, cute little one. From the Blue Flower, I picked up Tudor Hair. I mean, look at his ears. Look at those flowers. Gorgeous. Picked up that one. As well as Hedgehog and Hyacinth, which is, I think this was a market release this year. Definitely a cutie, so I picked that one up. From Cottage Garden Samplings, I picked up Christmas Star, another piece with a Santa that I'm gonna just not stitch the Santa. I thought that Christmas tree in and of itself would just be a gorgeous piece with all of the little animals in it, so that will be what I stitch from that one. From Bent Creek, I picked up a kit, and this is part of the Zipper Kit series, and this is Silver Bells Glow. There was a period in which they released one of these every year, and you stitch it on, I think it's typically 18 count linen, so it's quite large, and you're given pearl cotton that you stitch on, and I was showing you a teeny tiny part of the pattern. You can't do anything with that. I thought that one was really pretty, that Christmas scene. Also from Bent Creek, classic piece that I have been wanting to buy for a really long time. I have these pieces that I'm like, I really want that, but I'm going to wait until I find it in a shop. So this is one that I finally found in a shop. And then this is one of those row pieces. So this will be one that is stitched and put into the draft excluder on that 24 count linen. So I thought picking up a Christmas one or a Thanksgiving one would be great. And then, oh, this was not from one of the shops that I visited, but came in the mail because I found it on eBay. And this is the castle from Disneyland. So in commemoration of my recent trip there, I picked that one up on eBay. Thought that was cute. Let's see, from Heart and Hand, I picked up Christmas Cheer 2 with all of these tiny little smalls. So cute. Love those. And then also from Bent Creek is, hey look, it's a Santa that I'm not going to stitch. I just like that train, so I'm going to stitch the train. So that one was fun. And then the last piece of haul I picked up from the shops was this project bag from Black Cat Stitchery. I got this at Hobby House, and this was right by the door when I walked in. And I was like, well, I immediately picked this up and put it in my little basket. I have been wanting a sort of red, white, and blue patriotic project bag to put my Early Americans series in, and I was like, oh, I'll make one, I'll get to it. And then I saw this one and I was like, well, that solves that one, because now I don't have to make it myself. I mean, look at this. It's got bomb pops, which are, do they have any redeeming quality other than the fact that they're just delightful? Nothing tastes like a bomb pop, but I love them because I'm 12. So I got bomb pops. And then I'm not typically a vinyl front bag person, but look at this vinyl. It's actually printed with all of that. It's not the fabric, it's the vinyl. I thought that was fun. And I will just be very careful with my patterns inside of it. So, and it's just got kind of a white, sparkly white fabric in there to do that. So Black Cat Stitchery. I thought that one was super cute. And then the last piece of sort of stitching related haul I actually picked up at Michael's. Look at this. It's a Halloween piece. It's in stock in my Michael's right now. Look at this. It's got the little hangers and the brooms, but probably not something that I'm gonna, I bought it because I was like, this could be a very versatile piece. The backside is mostly painted and finished, but you could easily just turn it around, put something else on the top as decorative, take these little brooms off and hang a piece of stitching there. And you could either, depending on the piece, you don't have to repaint it. You could also totally repaint this and make it for any season or any piece and have that fun little hanger. I thought that was great. So, and then you could always recycle the brooms and use them for, something to accompany another piece. So I thought that one was just definitely worth picking up. No particular idea what I'm going to do with it, but someday the perfect pattern will arrive and I will be able to use it. All right. That's all of the haul. The last thing I have to talk about is just a little bit of book talk. So you may remember that from the last video we did a mystery prompt pull. So I have a little kind of jar and it has mystery prompts that it's a mystery to all of us because it's been so long since I made them that I don't remember what any of them are. And the prompt that we pulled was a book about food. And it was so much fun to read the comments from people because I had a bunch of people say, oh, I'm actually interested in that. I'm going to read this book. I'm going to read that book. This is just the exact thing I needed to read this book. So if you're looking for books about food, check out the comments from the last video, episode 30, because there's a wide range of books suggested, mentioned there. So if you're looking for ideas on a book about food, go ahead and check that out. What we did decide in the last video is I'm going to pull a new prompt every other video. So the next video, which will be in 2 to 3 weeks, will be that is when we will pull the next prompt. So if you are joining us for the first time, or if you haven't gotten started with your reading, you still have a couple of weeks to pick out and read a book about food and let us know what you read. I did actually read my book. I read it because I listened to the audio version while I was driving on my vacation. And let me see here. What I wound up reading was one that I picked up. I think I picked it up about a year ago, and I've been meaning to read it. It was the perfect opportunity. So I read Have You Eaten Yet?, which is stories from Chinese restaurants around the world, and it's written by Chuk Kwan, who is a Asian Canadian documentary filmmaker. And I remembered like the content, like the subject of the book, which is about him traveling the world and visiting different places from Cape Town to Israel, all kinds of different places where members of the Chinese diaspora have moved and established communities and families, either amongst themselves or kind of in the local population, and have started Chinese restaurants. And it was really, and so he basically just traveled the world and made a documentary series about these families and about these people. And I remembered that, like I knew that was the subject of the book, but when I started listening to it, they were mentioning the Cultural Revolution. They were talking about World War II and how the people that he was interviewing were remembering, like experienced and remembered these events. And I was doing math in my head and I was just like, is this a new book? I'm not sure. So I believe that I have my facts right on this, which is the documentary film series and the research for the book was done kind of around the like late 90s, early 2000s over the course of about 4 years. And the documentary films, the sort of multiple episodes, were released around that time in the early 2000s. I discovered you could now find them on YouTube. He has uploaded them. I haven't gotten to watch any of them yet. It reminds me that I need to watch them. But they are available on YouTube. But what I think happened is he did the documentary and then he did the research, but he didn't actually write and publish, or the book wasn't published until 2023. So I was like, okay, I think that makes sense, because I really thought it was a new book, but it's definitely talking about things from 20, 25 years ago. So all of which is to say, I really enjoyed this book. It was really interesting to hear about all of these different members of the diaspora who have moved, oftentimes moving to places simply because that is what the option was, or that is where life took them, not for any particular purpose, but that's kind of where they wound up. And how each of them has started a Chinese restaurant or took over a Chinese restaurant, and how that has become so central to their lives. But at the same time, many of them also say, like, I don't actually want to be doing this, or I do not want my family, like, I don't want my kids to take over this restaurant. I'm doing this so that they can have a life, a different life than what I have, or this isn't my skill. Like, a lot of these people were not trained cooks. They just knew family recipes and they learned it because they knew that that was one of the jobs that they could get in the country where they had settled, or they came upon it as a second career, things like this. So it was really interesting to hear about each of these different restaurants, how they were developed. And what was so interesting too was they have adapted to the culture in which they are living. And so many of them say, like, is this actually really traditional Chinese food? No, because I can't get the ingredients, because the people here would not buy that type of food, or they don't want to eat it. They want to eat something that's more familiar. So we use this type of chili instead of that type of pepper, or things like that. And so it is definitely Chinese food, but it is also adapted to the culture in which they are living, in which they are, with ingredients that they are able to get to suit the palates of people that they are serving, things like this. But it was really striking how many of them said, like, look, I'm just doing this because this is what the option was. It's a way to connect. It's a way to do all of these things, but I want my kids, or I want somebody else to do something different. But at the same time, how they have used that as a way to stay connected to their Chinese heritage. And it was talking about kind of, cultural versus ethnic kind of relations, and kind of what's the difference, like if you are culturally Chinese versus ethnically Chinese, and what does that mean? Are you Chinese if you have not lived there in X number of years, or if you have never actually been to mainland China, or things like this. So I really enjoyed the book. It was really interesting. I definitely want to check out the documentary film series as well, but I was really happy that I had a chance to read that book for the prompt. I will say, I don't know if I'm going to get to a second book over the next couple of weeks, but the other book that I considered, I'm going to mention it in case it is something that is of interest to you, is Bon Appetempt, which is a story about a woman who kind of learns how to cook. And it's just kind of that coming of age, storytelling about somebody who's kind of learning about this as a way to learn about life. So it is by Amelia Morris, and definitely one that I've had on my list. I snatched it up off of, Amazon, I think, recently, because it was in that period where they were trying to get rid of the hardback, so it was, $6 or something like this. So I picked it up. I think this will be a very different type of read, but also very interesting. So if I get around to it, I do have a couple of other books that I'm trying to get done with reading, but that is another one on books that I will either read in the next couple of weeks or in the near future. So that was how I responded to the A Book About Food prompt. Like I said, if you're reading along with me, let us know in the comments how it is. If you're just getting started, or if you're looking for suggestions, put that in the comments and we can potentially give you some direction as well. So, all right. That was a whirlwind tour through stitching and haul and some book talk. As always, it is such a pleasure to be with you. I hope that you have an enjoyable next couple of weeks, and I will see you soon. Bye, everybody.